All right, so yeah, Dirt Rally 2.0. I have been like all over the map in terms of my feelings about this game, which I really was not expecting. And it's kind of there's been a lot of like kind of shouting into the void for me on Twitter about it, where I've like haven't like formed my thoughts very elegantly. But yeah, it's I think fair to say very highly anticipated, perhaps even more so than Dirt 4 because of the focus on rallying, which proved to be such a hit with Dirt Rally, that for Codemasters to return to that seemed like a no-brainer, a very good idea. And also on top of that, 2.0, like calling the game that is so... That's such a... Those are big shoes to fill, and I know that the name essentially like alone doesn't really mean that like they have to do that, it has to be Colin McRae Rally 2.0 all over again, but they're really shooting for stars with this one. So right off the bat, I'm curious to know what your guys' feelings are. Brendan, I feel like you're on a similar wavelength to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've said on the podcast before, and if anybody's read some of my content on GTPlanet as well, I was a huge fan of Dirt Rally, the original one. I felt as if it was the first proper good rally game we had this generation, actually. Before that, there wasn't really much to choose from. And, as the name suggested, it kind of seemed to take a lot of it almost seemed to take a lot of its personality from Colin McRae Rally 2.0, just the way they had those exclusive steelbooks that looked at the original cover and stuff. So I think people were really excited for it because it was going to take what was learned from Dirt Rally, also what could be learned from Dirt 4 as well, and then give us the best Codemasters experience. And I think, just to give an indication of where I sit, I genuinely feel that the driving is incredible. And the graphics are also probably the best we've seen from the Ego engine. Very, very colourful, and I love the way they've managed to get the contrast and saturation down. Some of the locations, like New England, look phenomenal. But as we'll go into in a bit more detail, I think some of the content around the edges and the content itself actually leaves a bit to be desired. Now, as far as I know, you've been playing it as well, Jordan. Do you have any kind of summary thoughts you'd like to kick us off with?
Yeah, I think I agree with both of you guys in terms of the overall feel of the game. It does have big shoes to fill. That's for certain. But I don't know. For me, the way I tend to play rally games is, I just want to get in there and drive. I don't know. It's like I don't play them the way I would say, a Gran Turismo or a Forza or a Project Cars. Like I just want to get in there and start rallying. And so for me, the actual physics and the handling and the force feedback and stuff like that, that's all great. And so for me, what I'm looking for in a rally game, it fulfills all of those needs. And it sort of brings the type of rally game that I'm looking for in a modern package. It kind of delivers that for me. So, I know what you mean though about the a little rough around the edges, with the content and stuff, but yeah, I've had a lot of fun with it so far, so I can't really fault it on the other parts. In some ways, it doesn't feel as polished, like with the menus and stuff. I don't know, it just doesn't feel quite the same. But like I said, that's not really what I'm looking for in a rally game anyway. So it just helps me get right to the good stuff quickly, and that's really all I can ask for.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say as far as the gameplay is concerned, that it is very streamlined, and I think that my favorite thing about the game by far is just like it feels, it's everything I could ask for in terms of gameplay. The on stage, if you will, experience of it is just top notch, and I think Codemasters has always been at the top of their game with respect to rally. It's always where they're strongest in terms of the on-track product, and the physics are on point, and the game looks beautiful, better than any previous Dirt game this generation at least, and it's really exciting to see Codemasters return to those production values after they were so good in the previous generation with those 3 Dirt games. They put out some of the most beautiful racing games of the generation, and in my opinion, they might be the best, and they were multi-platform, and they look, at least graphically speaking, they look incredible. And then Dirt Rally and Dirt 4 were kind of Dirt Rally especially was like more of a smaller production. So it's great to see them really hitting that high level that you come to expect from Codemasters over the years that they're capable of, and executing that. But yeah, my concern is it's partially around the content and the lack thereof, or maybe not lack thereof, but just I always have this feeling with Codemasters Rally titles specifically, especially over the last 2 or 3 iterations, that they could do a little bit more, and that they don't tend to build off of the success of the previous entries. And what I mean by that is, Rally 2.0, again, best physics, best to play, best to drive, but as much as people didn't like Dirt 4 for the year stage stuff, I think that game had a very good single player experience, and that's something I still care about, and it's something that I still want from a rally title like that. I'm honestly not doing very much online racing. I'm not doing very much. I don't do any esports stuff. So, yeah, single player is important, and Dirt 4 executed that very, very well. And I feel like with Dirt Rally 2.0, they kind of just they just kind of pushed that to the side when they already had the framework of a very good single player experience there, and that really bothers me.
So I think you're bang on in the sense that in terms of off the track stuff, it's very much dialed back. But I'll take Jordan's corner with this one and say that when it comes to the Dirt Rally franchise, what I got from the first game was it was very much choose your car, choose your track, drive. And I loved that about it, and I understood at the time because it was a smaller project. That was the reason it was that way. So they focused really on that driving. Dirt Rally 2.0 though, I start to over time feel more similar to you, Adam, because the driving is fantastic and it's so easy to get in a car and drive, which I love. I've got this weird, almost OCD-like nature when it comes to career elements in racing games, where if you're going to go all in with it, with the way Dirt 4 did it, then I'm fine with that. But what I don't like is when you have a game like Dirt Rally 2.0 that randomly incorporates stuff like used cars and staff, but they don't really seem to impact much based on the way I'm playing so far. Like, there's nothing really there. And then you take the dailies and weeklies, who in my opinion, not who, but in my opinion, they were created to create an equal playing ground that every day or every week people can compete in, and then allow engine upgrades to factor into those rankings. Like, there's a few elements on the off the track stuff that started to build up over time for me, and that's just a few of them where I feel as if they did want to put some of those nice Dirt 4 additions in, but they also didn't want to detract from the core experience, which is I can literally turn the game on and be in a rally within seconds. That's fantastic. Like, that's why I play Dirt Rally. But I don't appreciate the fact that certain car classes come up, and then if I don't have my car fully upgraded, then I'm definitely not going to finish tier 1 on those rankings. And given the way they've went with the career structure for Dirt Rally 2.0 as well, I've got a feeling, me personally anyway, the dailies and the weeklies will be really what keeps me coming back to the game once I do the kind of standard set career mode 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I don't think it's like somebody needs to tell Codemasters that a hardcore rally simulation and a excellent single player experience, or as good of a single player experience as like what Dirt 4 offered. It's like those are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
It's like you can have both of those in the same game if they took the best of Dirt Rally and the best of the Dirt franchise and combined them into one. I think they would have a really strong product that made everybody happy. I don't know why they feel like they need to take them in 2 different directions. I feel like that was probably some decision that they came to in a meeting, and maybe they said, okay, yeah, this is a good idea, but it actually may not be the best idea.
It's a fair point.
Yeah.
It's a good point, because you almost feel as if this decision might have been made on the back of something like Forza Horizon, Forza Motorsport, but
Right.
The difference with that one is they're so distinctly different. But like, as a consumer, I think you could easily get confused as to why Dirt Rally 2.0 does pale in that single player element compared to 4. Like you said, why isn't it just the same thing? Especially when Dirt 4 introduced hardcore handling. And once again, they did a similar thing where it was like they took the Dirt Rally physics but slightly dumbed them down. And it's like, well, why wouldn't you just keep it the same way?
Why?
And yeah, exactly. Like, what difference does it make if you're offering the hardcore model? Just keep what people like. And yeah, I think that's actually a really good point, Jordan. It almost seems like they want to keep both brands distinct. I know you for sure, Adam. You're not a fan of that, judging on your tweets.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they have to do this to themselves. You know, I don't think that there's much incentive for them to do it to themselves. I think the same people who would play Dirt 4 are the same people who play Dirt Rally, you know? And I don't... It just seems like a distinction that's made arbitrarily based on at least nothing I've seen from the community, people who plays games, myself, you, my friends. Like, nobody has this expectation that they need to be different things. You know, Forza Horizon and Forza Motorsport are two completely different types of racing games. You know, one is a simulator, and one is a reasonably realistic arcade game that's based in open world. And, you know, Forza Motorsport circuit racing. You know, those games should not be the same game. Nobody feels that way, and, you know, they've been allowed to kind of double down on what makes them each unique and special in a way that pleases everybody. But I don't feel like Dirt needs to do that. You know, if Codemasters wanted to come out with, say, a spiritual successor to Shocks, then they should maybe come out with like a Dirt, you know, a fun Dirt Showdown sequel or something like that. I don't know. But like, yeah, it just seems very arbitrary. And my feeling when it comes to things like the single player mode in particular, and I kind of feel this way actually about Gran Turismo's rallying representation over the years, is that if you're not gonna go all out, you know, don't do it if you're just gonna kind of half-ass it, or not half-ass it, but like if this isn't going to be a substantial part of the game, then maybe don't do it at all. And I would actually have probably been more comfortable with Dirt Rally 2.0 single player factor if it was. If it almost didn't exist and they were just upfront about that, because as it is now, you know, they tell you there's a career, and it's literally just like one of the menu items, like a pane right next to the daily challenge or the weekly challenge, and it's essentially, you know, a single rally, and except you have to pay for the cars and you have to fix them up, but and there's that staff element, but it's just window dressing, honestly, especially like not to change the subject too much, but I've really been getting into Motorsport Manager 3 on my phone lately, and it's so good. It's so much fun. And I don't expect like any sort of like deep like team management simulation like that from an actual racing game. You know, there's so much work that has to be done that it's way more complicated to put that into a conventional racing game. But when I see kind of Dirt Rally 2.0's like random staffing element that you could easily miss, like, you could easily miss that. It's never really put in front of you at any point during the actual single-player racing. Like, I just kind of laugh. Because it doesn't need to... It could just as well not be there. And the game would be no different.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, too, you know, I mean, we're in this every day. We know everything about, you know, all these racing games that come out and stuff. But put yourself in the shoes of an average consumer. You know, what you've just... heard last year, you know, you got Dirt 4 coming out. Okay, now you hear about Dirt Rally 2.0. What are you supposed to think about that? You know, like it's confusing. I don't. How is the average person, the average gamer? How are they supposed to process that? You know, and they're like, oh, okay, Dirt Rally 2.0 is more hardcore. Like, you know, we understand it, but we're kind of in our own little bubble here, you know, in this racing game genre bubble. And so I think from both a gameplay perspective, it harms the franchise, but also from a business and marketing perspective, I don't see how it could really be beneficial. I mean, it would almost make more sense to me if they just had, you know, Dirt 5, and just as like, we're like, okay, yeah, it has the best physics ever, and, you know, we focus less on the single player side of things this time. But, you know, really they need to be doing both, because like I said before, those two things are not mutually exclusive. But they need
Yeah.
to combine them both. But if I was in charge of the franchise, that's the way that I would be running it, because I don't think they really help themselves in any way by having these two things both called DiRT. And they're both rally games. So we have DiRT and then we have DiRT Rally. Just doesn't make any sense.
It's almost like it feels like a fan service series, just for like guys like us. Almost like even the name, the fact it's called 2.0, the fact that it's very much, this is the hardcore one, like this is the way it should be. But not to bring the tone down, but if you look at the UK first week sales, DiRT Rally 2.0 didn't perform as well as DiRT 4, and not as well as the original DiRT Rally either. And like you're saying, the consumers, there's people in the UK that still refer to it as Colin McRae. Like that's what they call any race, like any rally game by Codemasters. So it can get confusing. Like genuinely, I was talking to someone about DiRT 4, racing game fan, and they made the direct comparison with DiRT Rally, saying, the last game in the series was much better driving wise, and it's that awkward phase where you don't want to go full actually and then tell them it's not the same series. And to me it just feels like one of those weird like fan servicey games, like where you get the Dead or Alive fighting game series and then there's like the weird volleyball spin-offs. Like this seems like the equivalent for rally fans, where you've got the hardcore sim for the people who love it, and then you've got the regular series. But the problem is that isn't being communicated to the consumer whatsoever.
It's funny too, because when I look at Codemasters' F1 output, I feel like that is exactly what an F1 game should be. And whether you are a serious fan who's also into sim racing and you want to experience a game that way in the most realistic way possible, or if you're an F1 fan who doesn't play many racing games or as much and is less concerned about realism, and you just want to have a good time, that game can scale very well to either end. So in that sense, Codemasters is like, okay, we'll make an F1 game that appeals to everybody, and it actually is one of those cases where I think it does, and they execute it really well. It has an amazingly deep like team kind of skill tree set up where you're investing over the course of the year into the development of your car and into your team, and it's like super extensive and fantastic and rewarding to play. You're dealing with the relationships of your team, so that game actually does do it all. And I don't know why they can't apply the same, or why the logic isn't being applied to DiRT Rally or the DiRT series in general.
Yeah, I understand. And it's just the nature of this type of content that we are discussing the negative of this game so harshly without giving the driving field the plaudits it deserves. But the fact of the matter is, like, the driving here, in my opinion, is even better than the original DiRT Rally, and I've loved every moment on the track. The weather effects are great, and I should point out I'm playing on PC, so your guys' experiences might have been different if it's a PlayStation 4. But how much the Ego engines managed to scale up, because I loved the way the first game looked, but you could definitely tell it was running on a pretty aging engine at this point in time. But DiRT Rally 2.0, it's actually one of the best looking racing games I've seen quite some time outside of Gran Turismo Sport, because that's just a ridiculously high barrier to compare it against. But I feel as if the lighting is on point and the environments look spectacular, even if there isn't that many of them.
Yeah, I'm playing on PS4 Pro, and the game looks very good. It does kind of have a weird softness to it at times, I should also say that I'm playing on 1080p TV, so what the PS4 does is it super samples, where it renders at 4K and then shows, spreads that over a 1080p display, and it kind of has this softness to it where it's almost like they're trying too hard to anti-alias, but that said, like, it still looks really good. The lighting, that has no effect on the lighting, and the environmental effects are great. I think it's fair to say, though, that, like, I mean, that was something that was surprising, right? Because DiRT Rally was a smaller title, and Codemasters hasn't really executed in terms of the engine quite as well as they used to in a few years. But, you expect a Codemasters Rally game to handle really well, and 9 times out of 10 they do. So, like, that's why we're not talking as much about that, because honestly, it's a thing that everyone thought this game would do well, and it does. So it's almost like you kind of end up just having more of a discussion about the things that aren't so obvious, or expectations that, you know, didn't necessarily come through the way you were thinking they would.
Yeah, I'm playing on PlayStation 4 as well, and I agree with you, Adam. It looks really good, but it's also kind of, I don't know, it feels kind of gamey. Does that make sense? You know, it's like I'm constantly reminded that I'm watching a 3D, you know, simulated game, and it's like, I don't know, it's obviously you feel that way when you're watching any game, but something about it, I can't explain what it is that just holds me back a little bit from saying, wow, this game is gorgeous. And I don't really get that same feeling when I look at, say, you know, a modern Forza game, or obviously Gran Turismo Sport, or even something like iRacing. It's that doesn't really have great graphics, but there's just more of a consistency, I think, to the visual appearance of all the elements that sort of allows your brain to slip into this reality. And with Dirt Rally 2.0, I don't know, I just feel like I'm constantly thinking about the fact that I'm looking at this rendered environment. I can't put my finger on what it is. It may be that sort of softness that you're talking about, Adam, because I see that as well. But I'm not sure. There's something about it. I'd love to play the PC version to see if, on a really high-end rig, to see if that maybe goes away.
Yeah, I'm jealous of the way you get to play the game, Brendan.
Well, it's another issue all entirely, but at least your force feedback works. The Thrustmaster force feedback on the PC is pretty much, excuse the Scottish slang, humped at the moment. In the sense that it's not working at all the way it should. The thing is, Codemasters have come out and said that it is, from their side, that working what they would expect to see. But there's a lot of complaints at the moment, and I know for sure. I tried driving the Stratos with my T150, and I might as well have tried to do it with my Pinky, because there was it was a bit of a disaster. But in terms of the visuals, if I could point out something that even on the PC that I might be thinking, the colour spectrum's very flat in the game. I feel so, like I praised how like New England looks, for example. But the fact of the matter is, it's all very much, this is orange, this is red, this is yellow type colours, whereas like your iRacings, your Gran Turismos do very well at making a more broad colour spectrum. But I feel as if in Dirt Rally they've kind of honed in on the atmospheric element maybe a bit too much, that creates that gamey effect. That's just a guess on my end anyway, because I would understand that if maybe that was factoring in.
That's a good point.
I think it's funny too, because it's a New England rally in this game. Kind of happens in the autumn, right? It's in the fall. I went through it once. I can't remember.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, Michigan in previous dirt games was also in the fall, so it's almost like, you know, the northeastern, not northeastern, but you know, the U.S. I guess is just perpetually in this state of autumn. I guess when you're rallying to Codemasters anyway.
Yeah, it's located near Autumn Ring, a circuit you may have heard of.
That makes sense. I love the fall. It's my favorite time of the year. I wouldn't mind living in that part of the world, wherever Autumn Ring is.
Speaking of times of year, no winter representation whatsoever in the base game. How do you guys feel about that?
I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either. I feel like snow, ice driving is sort of an essential part of the rally experience. That's something that is totally unique to the rally discipline, and I feel like any rally game that wants to be taken seriously, especially by a hardcore audience, which they're aiming for Dirt Rally 2.0, it really needs to have snow and ice. You know, I don't know, maybe they're holding it back, you know, for some kind of DLC and, you know, try to give the game a little boost a couple of months from now. But it needs it. It really does.
It arrives this week, funnily enough. The first wave of DLC includes Monte Carlo, which will bring snow and ice here. Absolutely correct there, Jordan. But this is where a bit of controversy becomes in, because you probably know that was in the first game.
Right.
In fact, all the locations they're adding as DLC are from the first game. So That isn't too great. Well, as we know so far, sorry, the 2 seasons of DLC content we know about are locations from the previous Dirt Rally. It's a little bit skeptical, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind them, like, I guess, bringing those locations back as DLC if we get the new ones first. But the lack of snow representation is unfortunate, and also, Codemasters always has this habit of kind of doing this thing where they'll make like 2 massive stages for each rally, and then like every other stage is like parts of it. So if these rallies come back and they're exactly the same, but they'll say, oh, we use our new surface degradation technology or whatever on, it's like, okay, fine. But if they're basically the same, then it's gonna be a little bit disappointing. It's been a good discussion on Dirt Rally, and in the interest of time, we should probably move on. But does anyone have any final lasting thoughts?
Yeah, I would just sum up by saying if you're looking for the best driving experience in a rally game at the moment, I would say Dirt Rally pips it. If you're looking for other stuff as well to go alongside that, and that includes the number of tracks, number of locations, then you might be slightly disappointed. But I do feel like Codemasters, as they often do, have hit it out of the park as far as the on-track experiences, and between dailies and weeklies and those types of events. If you're interested in competing in leaderboards, then you'll keep coming back. But the career mode is fairly standard for the genre.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely the best modern rally experience that you can get. If somebody asks me, I want a rally game, what should I buy? I wouldn't hesitate to say Dirt Rally 2.0 for any platform. But I'm also I also have a bit of experience behind the wheel of a rally car. I've done rally school at Rally Ready down in Texas. Did that 3 years ago, and it was really interesting, to see how cars really do handle on dirt, and it's to push to their limits, and it's a really unique thing. It's a unique way to drive, and I think that the game really simulates that quite well. I also like the way that the game has it really keeps you on your toes as you start going fast. I feel like they've sort of added some ridges and almost like curbs almost of dirt along the side of the road. So as you start to go fast, it really has a sort of a pucker factor there, and it makes you sort of slow down a little bit when you're really pushing and going hard, and that makes it more fun. That I like the fact that I'm tested like that when I'm driving a rally game. So we've been pretty hard on it in this segment, I think. But as I said at the very beginning, I do think it's a great game, and I really do enjoy it a lot. And I'm glad they made it. There's just some other things that they could do to make it even better, and who knows, maybe they're listening.
Yeah, I mean, that really says it all. There's like nothing else I could add to that. So yeah, thanks for taking my thoughts, guys. No, really. Yeah, it's Dirt Rally 2.0, and we'll see how it evolves. Over time. They have a serious DLC plan for this game that previous entries have not had. So definitely something we'll revisit in the future, and yeah, fun times ahead if you like rallying. But at this point, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back and talk to Jordan about GTPlanet. And congratulations, you are now officially a racing game legend.
Great. Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back.